Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Mind, Body, and Roots. I have an old time friend, Jeremy Gideon. He is a master's in neuroscience, but man, this guy's got a story. He's done a PhD, but like didn't finish it because of life things. Went to medical school at Johns Hopkins. He's done it all, and he's probably gonna go back and finish it up anyways because I know this guy. But without further ado, I'm gonna have Jeremy talk about him, and we'll go. So thank you again, Jeremy, for your time and attention for being on the podcast with me.
Yeah, thank you, Ahad, for inviting me. This is going to be really fun. I do have a couple stories to tell that
Yeah,
are a little out of pocket, but I'm excited to share.
yeah, absolutely. So, okay, Jeremy, let's walk through. We've been friends since high school, maybe
Yeah, since
high school.
2009, man.
I think so,
Our
something like
first
that.
band manager.
Yeah, literally. Man, I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right though. Um, Started there. And then we kind of went our separate ways. But let's talk about college and from there on, because I know you went to Pitt, I went to Penn State, but you did a whole bunch of stuff. So let's talk about what you do and then go from there.
Yeah. So currently, I'm just a simple back of the kitchen support staff member. I just polish dishes and make sure the restaurant's running smoothly. I run food. I host. Doing the non-chef side of things. I am a chef. Used to be an exec chef at a pizza restaurant that unfortunately closed down because of well, we were selling liquor without a liquor license, and none of us knew. So that's always fun. Um, but yeah, I went to college originally for English and jazz, and I studied under John Mayone, who's a very famous local jazz musician here in Pittsburgh. And I'm dyslexic, so I can't read sheet music. So, he said because of that, like I couldn't read the fake book. It was everything was just jumbled. So I ended up switching on a whim to neuroscience. I took an intro neuroscience class my second semester of my freshman year in it was called drugs and behavior, and it taught you all of the mechanisms of actions of all the major drugs, like not just recreational drugs, but like your Tylenols,
Mm,
your ibuprofens, like all of that. Um, and it was really cool because it was that, and then they taught you about um, safety as well. So how to recognize signs of overdose, how to approach taking care of somebody who might be overdosing, and I kind of fell in love with that idea. So I got into research my sophomore year of college. My dad was a pain doctor, and I always remembered him talking about addiction and opioids, and so I really wanted to understand, other potential mechanisms that I could exploit to maybe make pain relief a little bit easier for people.
mm.
Um, and yeah, that led me down my pre-med path. I switched completely to medicine, took all of those crazy classes, and I still use it to this day. So, I kind of think of myself as like, what's his name? The Good Eats guy. Oh man, Anton
I know who
Brown,
you're talking
something
about.
like that. Uh, yeah, the name's escaping me, but like in Good Eats, he always explained the chemistry behind why food worked.
Hmm.
And so I think about myself kind of in that respect. Like I think about the chemistry and the biochemistry and biophysicality of basically everything that I do, whether that's music or cooking or science.
Hmm. Makes sense, Jeremy. Honestly, like it's it's interesting because you're probably one of the few people out there that actually used your pre-med degree. Because in my opinion, like my pre-dental stuff that I learned, I
Mhm.
don't use any of it.
Hey, but
I
you
mean,
got crazy spatial acuity though.
that
I
is
mean,
very true.
you
That
can
is very
turn
true.
shapes around in your head like no one other.
That is very true. I can. That is true. So it's different, but I wish they taught us that. But you just kind of learn. It's like the strangest
Yeah.
thing. They test us on it on the exam,
Mhm.
and they're like, "When am I going to use this?" And you're like, "Oh, makes sense."
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it all anything you learn comes back, you know?
it
Like
really does.
there's always one little thing that you're like, "Huh, I didn't realize I would use this information in this way."
Exactly. It's just it is what it is. But okay, so after that, you applied to med school, PhD. Talk about all that fun stuff.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I started research my sophomore year of college. I stayed on in that lab through the end of my college years while I was applying to med school. And at the time, like I said, I was so gung ho about medicine and using the what I've learned in research to apply to medicine. And so I applied to two DO schools and two medical schools, which is crazy low when you really think about it. Like I did not want to spend that money. And my academics were good. I had a couple papers, high impact papers under my belt at the time. So yeah, I applied to Hopkins and they said I didn't have enough research experience. And then I applied to Pitt. They said I had too much research experience and not enough like volunteer work. But I really wanted to go to DO school. So I applied to Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine and Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. I got deferred from PCOM, and LECOM was going to take me, but because of my research background, they wanted me to start the entire research program at LECOM. So I said no to that. That's way med school is hard enough,
Yeah.
but Hopkins did accept me. They just wanted me to do extra research when I got there. So I moved down to Baltimore and immediately hated it. The level of strictness, because they have this reputation,
Yeah.
it was more bureaucracy than like actual academic integrity. Like
Mm.
I was taking these classes and some of the information that they're trying to teach you as a med student, I learned my sophomore year in college, you
Mm.
know. So, but it was grueling and long hours. I never got any clinical work in. I stuck it out for about a year and a half and then decided to take a sabbatical, move back to Pittsburgh, try to figure out what I was going to do next. And while I was in Pittsburgh, I kind of fell back in love with research. I got back into my old lab. We were doing some really exciting stuff with Parkinson's research, and we had developed a new gene therapy for basically an epidural injection for pain,
Hmm.
but using gene therapy for it. So
Oh wow.
using viruses to bring in the cargo that would be your pain medication, and then that
Mm.
gets incorporated into your neurons for 6 months to a year, and turns down the tone of your pain. It's kind of similar to how like a spinal cord stimulator would work, but they use electricity, and so we were trying to find a way where you wouldn't have to carry around a battery pack all the
Mm.
time. So I kind of fell back in love with it and sent my resignation letter to Hopkins and went back to Pitt and just told them I am starting grad school here. I did not apply. I just told them I was starting. And they were like, "No, you still have to go through the proper channels." I was like, "Okay. Well, committee, I got you a nature paper. I got you a nature paper. I got you a nature." Like I had gotten a publication for every single person in that room. And I was like, "Do I really need to apply?" Like, "No. No, you're right." I was like, "I'm going to stay in the pain center. I will continue to work for all of you, but I'm telling you right now, I'm going to send in that application and you're going to accept me. I'm one of the best
I love
candidates
it.
you're going to have."
Yeah.
So that brought me to back at Pitt. Now I'm my year and a half sabbatical from Pitt is what it ended up being instead of a sabbatical from Hopkins. And I worked for the next 7 years doing pain research, and I loved every minute of it up until I got injured. And
Mm.
that was so I was making publications. I finished my comprehensive exam. I was a PhD candidate. by my sixth year,
It's
which
awesome.
is it's a little long, but the nature of my experiments took a while.
Yeah.
And I was developing a new surgery at the time when I proposed my dissertation thesis.
Hmm.
I was working in trigeminal neuralgia, or what's called the suicide headache.
Correct.
And it only affects like 1% of the global population, but it has an 85% suicide rate.
I see that. I've seen it
Yeah.
twice in my career.
Yeah, yeah. They have these like a slight breeze or like even
Uh-huh.
somebody sneezing in your general direction. There's these focal points on your face, and it creates the most terrible headache you could ever imagine. Like I
Yeah,
have horrible chronic migraine. I cannot even begin to imagine what these poor people are dealing with.
I know.
So,
And it's crazy because even as a dental surgeon, you're just like, yeah, I can't help you. I gotta send you to oral facial pain.
yep, yep,
There really is no. And I had a lady once. I think it was either in residency or my first year of private practice. I can't remember exactly when it was, but I she had a bunch of root canals done, and I'm like, dude, teeth are not your problem. This is
yeah,
oral facial pain. And I was like, you
hmm,
need to go down to UPenn and go see the specialist. And I
yeah,
never heard from her, but who I referred to, he was like, you diagnosed this correctly, so you probably saved this lady's life. So he said,
hmm,
thank you, and I got a letter, and I was like, hey, absolutely. It's like you got to see the signs. You just can't just think it's a tooth problem. It's a when you're a clinician of any kind, surgeon or non-surgeon, you need to assess the problem, not the general etiology you always look at.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You can't just focus on the symptomology of it.
Mhm.
You need to look at the entire picture, quality of life,
Mhm.
mental health, other underlying factors. Yeah, you got to look at all of it if you want to be a good clinician of any sort.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah, like
So,
that, but that's amazing. That's so cool.
it's interesting
I mean, it's
because
unfortunate for her, but
exactly. It's unfortunate for her, but that's the point is it's pain like the research in pain, it's so extensive like you were saying it takes time because you can't just be like, oh, okay, I'm done with this. It takes this level of detail, oh, then something else develops, and you just keep going and going, and it's pretty wild. But talk about more about your injury, like what happened. Like you're basically on track, so what happened?
so I was on track. I had 90% of my dissertation written.
Mm,
And then at the time, before my wife and I moved in together, I had a roommate. And so this would have been 2023, summer 2023. And he has a schizophrenic break.
mm.
And like early 2023, I learned that he was trying to cope by just doing massive amounts of, and he was just doing a really good job of hiding it.
Oh wow.
And he had adopted this dog, and he was working at the time. He was working nights, so he'd taken the dog to daycare for overnight. And I was gonna go pick up the dog, but he said no, just let them stay overnight because I'm gonna be a while. Comes home in the middle of the night, and I'm getting ready to go to bed, and he just comes at me like physically trying to attack me. And I'm like, dude, what's going on? Like, what happened? Like, let's talk about this. He's like, no, 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 you just killed my dog. I was like, your dog isn't here. He's like, I know, because you already disposed of the body. I'm like, no, I did not kill your dog. But I couldn't talk him down. And he grabbed a kitchen knife. I don't know if you can see it, but
That's
that
insane,
scar,
dude.
yeah, missed my carotid by 5 millimeters. Left me for dead for about an hour, and then calls 911, calls my wife, and comes back, and then tries to cauterize the wound with his switchblade. He had a torch and a blade, and you know, gave me third degree burns.
Oh, lovely.
Didn't even close the wound. So I had to take medical leave for that. I was gearing up for my last experiment the next day. Had to cancel it. This experiment was 2 years in the making. It was the very last thing that I would ever have to do. And they were like, okay, you can take a couple weeks, but you need to start prepping to redo this experiment. I was like, okay, I'm at the tail end, 99% done, just one experiment left, and you want another 2 years. So I tried to find a way to make it work. Like the animals were just going to be a little bit older
Yeah.
by a couple of weeks, which is well within my margins for error. And then I tear my Achilles 2 weeks later. I thought it was an upper calf strain because I could move my foot
Yeah.
and I could walk on it.
Huh.
And I was playing tennis at the time when I
Yeah.
when I tore it, and I felt, you feel the pop, you feel the numbness, but it doesn't hurt right away, which is very interesting. Which it was one of the most interesting injuries that I've ever had
Okay.
because like you feel like you're gonna be fine and you feel like you can walk it off, and I did for like a month,
Hmm.
and then but I couldn't. I was like progressively getting less and less mobility in my foot. So about 3 weeks later, I went to like an orthopedic urgent care, and they booked me for surgery that day. They were like, if you do not get this surgery right now, you will never walk again. So I call up my boss and let him know the bad news, and he just says, well, we have to scrap these animals now, you have to start over. And I was like, but how badly do you guys need this small piece of data? Like, it was for a project that I didn't think was ever going to pan out anyway.
Yeah.
But he was like, nope, we really need it, so you better start over. I'm like, okay, well, my Achilles is completely ruptured. What else can I do? Like, is there a different experiment that I can do? Because I will be on crutches, I will be in a boot, but I work in a BSL-3 lab.
Yeah. What's that mean?
So, so it's biosafety level. So one is just like your normal like high school level stuff. BSL-2 is like your college level stuff. BSL-3 is when the materials that you're working with are dangerous for you to exist around.
Okay.
So the viruses that I was using, all the chemicals, reagents that I needed to prepare for certain experiments. And then once you get into BSL-4, that's where you get into like your COVID vaccine. And then 5+ is like you work in a burn room and where contamination cannot ever happen, you
Yeah.
know? So I never wanted to go that high because that's terrifying. Uh, but all the crazy stuff starts at like BSL level 4. So I was right below that where I needed to bring a change of clothes. They had to be disposed of. I burned a lot of scrubs um, from spills and stuff, but yeah. So like technically, it was going to be impossible for me to do my experiment.
Yeah.
And
Could you
so
have hired someone out of curiosity?
I tried to.
Yeah.
Um, we tried to get some early like year one, year two grad students that were working in the pain center. I offered them authorship. I was like, you can be a co-author on this paper. It's gonna be like a Neuron Plus paper. I don't publish less than an impact factor of 14. And New England Journal of Medicine is like 35 or like 40, something like that. So
Yeah.
like right in the middle there. But a lot of so the way, I don't know if you know how impact factors work.
Not as much.
Okay, so the more specific the name, the lower the tier of journal. So, Psychiatric Foundations of Mental Health in Autism
Hmm.
has an impact factor of like 1,
Okay.
right? Science is an impact factor of like 25.
Okay.
You see, the more general, and then it's just medicine, and that's like the highest impact paper.
The
So
highest. Okay.
neuron is like the highest neuroscience paper that you can publish in, and that is exclusively what I was publishing in. So I was offering this up, like, somebody please help me. Like, we can do a Zoom meeting. I will coach you through this surgery that I was developing. Um, and we didn't have any takers, so my supervisor, the postdoc, who's like, they're between a graduate student and like a principal investigator, which is your boss. So they're
Yeah.
right in the middle. They're the ones who are going to become the next principal investigator.
Hmm.
So I got him to start doing the surgeries for me. that was going fine, but they're like, we need you to come in to do the analysis. I'm like, I literally cannot enter the building. So what else can I be doing from home?
Mm.
They said nothing. There's nothing you can be doing from home. So I was like, okay, so can I defend with what I have? I sent them my dissertation manuscript, and they said that it's too much for a master's, not enough for a PhD. We need that one experiment for you to finish with that PhD.
That's nonsense,
So
dude.
I once again, like, this has been my career in science. I just told them, okay, I'm leaving with my master's degree then. I'm not defending it. You can use my entire dissertation for my master's thesis. But if that's how you're going to play this game, after I devoted, at that point, it had been like 12 years of work that I put into this program. Like, I started the diversity, equity, and inclusion committee for the entire university. Like, so there's all that extracurriculars that I didn't have the first time. I've all these publications. I had 4 grants. I had never Nobody had ever paid for me. I always had a grant, which is honestly very challenging to do. But no, so I left with a master's degree and a torn Achilles.
That's crazy. I'm actually shocked that they. Yeah, I just feel like there was like no sympathy, dude. Like that's ridiculous.
There was none. And so there's this other caveat, which why I couldn't go back to get my PhD and finish it,
Hmm.
which is that we have the University of Pittsburgh, and then we have the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine.
Yeah.
One is run by UPMC, one is run by the Arts and Sciences of the University of Pittsburgh. They're the
Mm,
same entity, but they're different.
correct. Okay.
So if I had been in the arts and sciences side of things, they have what's called an interim master's,
Mm,
which I leave with a master's for medical or family reasons, and then I can come back and pick up where I left off.
mm.
That's not offered in the School of Medicine. So I had to terminate with a master's degree. So if I were to go back, I'd have to start all over.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was my academic journey, and it's rough. They beat you down in grad school a little bit.
Quite a bit.
Especially quite yeah, exclusively beat you down. Especially being a person of color in the program. I was the second black male in the entire, no, I was actually the first black male in the entire history of the program.
That's crazy.
Yep. It was me. And then a year later, another one joined. And by the time I left, there were 5 out of over 300 graduate students in the School of Medicine. There were
Wow.
just 5 of us.
It's wild.
Yeah.
You know the biggest revenge would be if you go back to the University of Pittsburgh, get your MD, and be like, "Yeah, that's right."
Yep. you know, it's not a bad idea.
I'm just being honest.
I completely agree.
It's like you didn't give me my PhD, so when I got
Yeah.
an MD.
Yeah. Joke's on you guys.
Yeah,
I'm still capable.
exactly, dude. That blows my mind up. I think that's the biggest thing about human nature, and being a part of the School of Medicine and saying that empathy is the cornerstone of practicing medicine or dentistry,
Hmm.
you didn't show it.
Yeah.
Actions speak louder than words. Whoever your chancellor or your principal investigator was, they definitely didn't follow that. Because they're
No.
like, "Oh, it's all right, Jeremy. Like, you did so much. Finish it off. It's not a big deal." That's what I would have done. I mean, that's just a human thing to do, right?
Yeah, and I've seen people defend their PhDs coming out of my program with far, far less.
Mm,
There's this one, you jogged my memory about this one guy. It was like I think he was in his like 30s when he started, so he was probably closer to his 40s when he finished. But he was this white guy, came from money. He was like a Vanderbilt or something,
yeah, yeah.
and he left, just disappeared for 2 years, started a job at some biotech company, and just disappeared. Came back. He had 10 animals in his entire PhD.
Wow.
That's it. He had one graph, and he defended with one graph. 0 publications, nothing. Just left for 2 years, came back for a year, and defended. And I did all this extra work, and I got nothing out of it. So, you
Yeah, I don't know
know,
what to tell you, dude. That's wild.
actions speak louder than words, and they made,
Yeah.
they made their intentions pretty clear. So, I'm
Honestly, dude, if I was you, I'd be so pissed. I'd be like, either you go back to Pitt, get your MD, or you go somewhere else and get it, and you go
mm,
back and be like, yeah, that's right.
hmm
I genuinely would. That would just take me off.
uh, yeah, I was very upset for a very long time. Grad school, like I said, breaks you down.
It does.
And I know there's a separate segment about the mind coming up.
Eh, that's fair. So wait, okay, what ended up happening to your roommate? I know we talked about all this.
That's right. So the roommate, he got committed that night. Came back a couple weeks later and just moved out.
Okay.
Left all of his stuff there. Never paid me rent. Yep, just disappeared. So I don't know. He's yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he moved back to Buffalo. That's about as much as I know. Um, yeah.
Wow. That's just yeah. Dude, honestly, it's kind of weird. Maybe it was for the bettering of you. Maybe his journey is something else opening up for you. I don't know. That's my only like silver lining from what you've told me. I mean, that's what I would think at least.
Every event in life is a life lesson
Yeah.
if you choose to look at it that way. I
Mm,
could have let it break me down, and I'd be terrified to go out in public, but it was an isolated incident and honestly, it spurred my interest to get more into mental health
yeah.
and really take my mental health seriously, because I live with borderline personality disorder,
Mm-hmm.
but I also have like auditory hallucinations.
Mm,
And so to a degree, and I used to dissociate a lot too.
mm,
Like to a degree, I understood what he was going through and I just wanted to help. Unfortunately, he didn't have the skills that he needed to adequately address that situation.
mm.
And I really hope he's doing better now.
Makes sense. Dang. So okay. Now that we kind of like talked about the whole like mind and the craft type thing, if you could do school, like go back to med school, would you
hmm
do it again?
I would.
Okay.
I definitely would not go back to grad school,
Okay.
but I would, like, I do want to stay inside medicine and healthcare to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
My whole end goal with my PhD was medical devices.
Mm,
So I really wanted to do like research on like spinal cord stimulators or deep brain therapy or deep brain stimulation therapy. But I think looking back, I would have been much better off pursuing my medical degree and
mm,
just being the surgeon.
mm.
Uh, than being stuck with all of the red tape of trying to get all this research going. It's feast or famine, and it's usually famine in when it comes to research, and that's a level of stress in and of itself that I wouldn't want to do. But medical school, I mean, it's still famine, but at least the end result is a little bit better.
Yeah, that is fair. So okay, if you look back at this podcast in 10 years,
Okay.
what what would you want to have accomplished and why?
Wow, that's a great question. Um, Hopefully in 10 years, I will have found a job that I really, truly am obsessed with.
Hmm,
I think, who is it? Who invented that Riz phrase? Kai Cenat.
hmm,
He has this phrase like, you got to be obsessed. If you're not
mm-hmm.
obsessed, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And, that's a little extreme, but I do commiserate with that sentiment. And I think, I've been out of healthcare for about a year now
Mm,
and I miss it. Like I do, I still keep up with reading papers. I get up every morning and I read at least one paper. Because I'm interested. I'm a curious guy by nature. But I think doing something that's, if 10 years from now I have some healthcare profession, no matter
Hmm.
what it is, whether it's being an MD or working for a biotech company or being like a PA or even like a nurse, not to downplay nurses, we need them. Please,
Hmm.
everybody become a nurse. I think I can look back on this and say to my present self, that obsession was worth it,
Mm.
and it was the right call.
Makes sense. No, I like it. I think that's the biggest thing is like self reflection and understanding where you've come in your journey. That's like the biggest thing, man. Because like if it wasn't for that same type of reflection or that ability to like overcome difficult times, right? I think as a species we would cease to exist, right? And I think
Absolutely.
I think you've really like you've grinded through it all. So I mean, kudos to you. You really have.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. But wild, wild times. But okay, so now we've talked about the craft part, and I kind of understand all that background of where you are now and how you got here. Body wise, I know you and I used to like talk about lifting and like taking care of ourselves. And you're a big tennis guy. I think you played like JV and maybe varsity in high school tennis, if I remember
Yes.
correctly.
Yep.
Yeah, so you always played a lot of sports. So what do you do now? Do you upkeep with any sports and all that? Like, how do you keep yourself mentally fit? Like, are you spiritual, religious? Like, what? Kinda tell me about that.
Yeah, so let's start with the physical. Through college, I got more into powerlifting,
Okay.
and making myself stronger.
Mhm.
You remember me from high school. I was a scrawny little thing. 6'2", 115 pounds. Like
Yep.
I was so small to the point where going up a flight of stairs, sometimes my knee would dislocate because I had no support muscle. So in college, I decided to make a change, and I had done martial arts in when I was younger, a lot of Tai Chi, Taekwondo, and karate. I started doing judo, to find that balance, and in order to be able to do judo, like yes, it's the small man's martial art. It's kind of like aikido. You use your opponent's body weight against them. But
Yeah.
I was so frail that I couldn't finish. you know I'm going for like an impulse, like a shoulder throw, and I'm like crumbling. So I found some these two great guys, Sean Heller, and Byron Chuan. They're two of my closest friends, and they kind of became like my coaches and my senseis, and uh they taught me how to lift.
Hmm.
And within that first summer of lifting, like, I started so slow. Like I was using like the small bar, like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
15 pounder, like to
Yeah.
bench. But by the end of that summer, I was up to like, weight wise, I was up to like 140, 150.
Hmm.
And I had broken 100 pounds on every lift, and I kept that up until probably 20, up until this whole knife thing happened. Um, but I was lifting heavy. Well, I had a whole 3-day regimen, that we did over the course of 5 days. So it
Hmm.
was 5 days on, 2 days off, and I was doing that for 2 to 3 hours a day, basically every day of the week. And that was my meditation,
Hmm.
like focusing on just your breath, focusing on every part of your body as you're doing a lift. I love deadlift
Yeah.
because it engages every part of your body. Like, if you don't do that, you're going to herniate a disc.
Correct.
And the breathing is essential. And so I got up to, what I think I topped out around 515, something like that, for a set of 5.
Nice.
I think
That's
I could do
beautiful.
600 for one on a good day.
On a good
but
day.
but that was always like my favorite part of my lift was getting to do deadlift because like now I have to focus and you know there's this meditation exercise that a lot of religions and mental health people do where you focus on like your big toe and then you radiate and you think about every single toe and then you move up to the heel and then move up through your calf and you're just focusing what's it called like body resonance or body presence something like that.
Yeah.
But I would do that before every rep and so it became like my meditation just lifting. um but yeah, once I got injured, I got injured doing lifting too heavy, and so I switched to climbing. And I was a competitive climber for a number of years.
Hmm.
This would have been like right after college, like 2015 ish. Um, but I would do the same thing because like it really engages every single part of your body. You know, I'm terrified of heights, so I was only a boulderer. And I honestly wasn't even all that great. I think the highest I ever climbed was like a 5.7, something like that. It goes like 1 through 10, so I was somewhere between a 5 and a 7. So like medium level of difficulty. Um, and then I kept tearing the tendons in my hands because I was too heavy. You know,
Ah,
by that time I was pushing like 260. You know, I gained a lot of weight powerlifting, and I was always grateful for that. But yeah, climbing was not probably not the best transition. I was like,
that's
oh no,
fair.
I'm a strong guy. I could just, you know. And I was that asshole that was just like climbing without using their feet. It's called
Yeah.
campusing. I was just using my hands. It's like, look at all these all these pull-ups I can do.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Dang.
But these days, ever since my injury, it's just been calisthenics.
Mm.
You know, your one punch man exercise, 100 squats, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, run a mile like every day. And that's slowly becoming my meditation.
I love it.
Yeah.
Dude, that's dope, man. That's pretty cool. It's like you had like your peaks and you had your valleys and you're like back up to that peak. And I think
Yeah.
that's the beauty. It's like everyone's journey in fitness changes. I mean, you remember me, I was a scrawny, I was smaller than
You were so small.
I was a stick, bro. I don't even and like in college and dental school, I was like starting to hit 315, 365. I mean, that's all I pretty much ended it. I'm like, damn, if you like would have looked 15 years ago, I was like, yeah, that's me. Psh, yeah, no chance.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
no chance. It's like what?
I look back on some of those old, you know, Facebook always throws you those memories and you're like, "Ooh,
Ooh,
that wasn't
dang.
me. Was that me? Oh, I had
Yeah.
hair. Wasn't this golden potato? What?"
Dude, you had a huge afro.
I did. I did. And I that's one thing about grad school or any type of intense academic stress.
Yeah,
You going to lose hair.
you will.
You're gonna lose some hair, or at least go gray. You know, if your genetics are blessing you.
Yeah,
Me, not the case. Everyone on both sides of my family, they go bald by like 18. I
that's
made it
why.
to 22.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then it was just all gone one day. My hair was down. It was like I was working in the lab 24/7. I was living in lab. Um, I would go home once a week to feed my cat. But I literally like I had a sleeping bag in lab. I had a jar of peanut butter and I was just running experiments constantly. It was not the definition of anti-work life balance. And that definitely contributed to me just waking up one day with all of my hair. It was down to my back. I woke up, threw my head forward because my hair, you know, hair is heavy,
Yeah.
and I got up and I was like, "Oh my god, what happened?" And all my hair was just like on my pillow. It like fell out overnight. So
Wow.
yeah. So I started doing a lot more. Started really transitioning everything that I'm doing into like a meditation to keep my head level as much as possible.
Hmm.
You know,
I'm
cooking,
impressed.
cleaning, doesn't matter. Anything could be a meditation.
It really is. It really is. It's like just you being focused on that one object or the task and just being
Yep.
relaxed pretty
And
much.
just
It's like a
being,
very
yeah.
bradycardic state.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really
Just
what it
leaning
is.
in and being mindful.
Yeah. And like you said, work life balance. And I don't know if I heard it somewhere or something, but I've been coining it a little bit here on the podcast. And I say work life harmony. And and and
Ooh.
and why I say work life harmony is in life there are no balances, right? We're not in a perfect world where we can balance positives and negatives, right? There's a harmonious aspect to life, and there's gonna be sometimes where you're absolutely obsessed with your craft, and some parts are gonna fail. But as long as you're in a harmonious state in that obsessive phase, and you can not like and make everything else kind of work and behind it, it's
Yeah.
a harmonious state. And then sometimes you're just like, yeah, I'm not that obsessed with my craft, and that's okay. But I'm doing something else, and I'm
Yeah.
enjoying it just as much. But I still love my craft, but I'm just not in that harmonious state with it. So I
It's
call
an
it work
ebb
life
and
harmony.
flow. Yeah. It introduces that ebb and flow.
Yes.
Sometimes you're more focused on one thing than another, but that doesn't mean you have to give up on one or the other.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautifully put.
Yeah. That's like a Japanese, I think I picked it from a Japanese saying or Japanese book that I was reading
Mm.
on Ikigai. So I was genuinely like curious and I was like, you know what? Like we talk about work life balance and we talk about all these things and it's like, but does anyone really do it? So it's like, well, then why do we coin those phrases? Like, why do we use it? Why not modify it? Why not make it something that we can actually use on a day to day basis?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, actions over words.
Yeah.
It's the
Absolutely, man.
it's the
It's
theme.
cool. It really is. I mean, it really is the theme. And, like you can do that with like anything in life. Like the
Yeah,
more actionable you are as a person, with time, even in the short term, you might not seem like you're successful, but you will get there,
yeah.
But it's just that continuous action. And I think there's physics principles that talk about it too. So if you follow physics, well, and we could really go down a rabbit hole here. Modern physics is very different, but you could just continuously follow that path. You will be successful if you commit to it. And that's the biggest thing.
100 billion% agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what else, like from a fitness standpoint, you're doing calisthenics. What do you want to do in the next couple of years? Like, what are some of your fitness goals? Like, what do you want to see yourself accomplish?
Um, I want to get back to a level of physical comfort.
Mm,
That's my main goal. I still, like I said, like I've had all these injuries, over the last decade, most of them being within the last 5 years, where I sometimes question whether or not I can do something.
mm,
And I hate that feeling. It brings me back to that first day trying to lift, going up those stairs to that gym and being like, oh, my knee just gave out. I'm 18 years old. This shouldn't be happening till I'm 30. Like I used to have a moving company and I would pick up a 400-pound couch, just throw it on my head, and just walk it wherever I wanted. Nowadays, I'm thinking about shifting my desk. I'm like, but can I do that? I hate that feeling. So my goals are getting back to a level of like just day to day comfort
yeah,
before I take that next step and start like really going back into my hardcore lifting programs, which
makes
I
sense.
probably won't ever go back to doing 100%. But
Mm,
there's a balance, there's a harmony you can find there, right?
yeah,
But yeah, I've been trying to eat a little healthier.
mm,
I've been doing a lot more cooking,
good.
and that's also been an inspiration for me
Mm,
to continue that health track. It's helped my mental health. It's helped me physically, socially, like every way imaginable, just by eating just a little bit better.
mm,
Like, and it's not like I'm eating fast food every day. I still I try to cook as much as possible because I just
mm,
love doing it. But I work nights mostly, so it's hard to make dinner. And my wife is always busy, so it's hard to time that out. But just the little changes, just using light soy sauce instead of regular soy sauce makes an incredible difference. I don't know if you've ever tried doing this,
mm,
but if you're making Chinese food,
okay.
for example, use light soy sauce,
Mm,
use mirin, but take your mirin and cut it in half with water.
Okay.
And then use just like half the amount of sesame oil, because sesame oil spreads and absorbs so quickly. You don't
Okay.
need that much,
Huh.
and you
Okay.
will not be bloated the next day.
Very interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah, like you get your American Chinese food.
Yeah.
I cook authentic Chinese, for the record.
Yeah.
Uh, but you always feel like heavy
Yeah.
and like kind of sweaty afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been experimenting with like how to change up those recipes to make them like, because my I never really feel that way when like my mother cooks food,
Yeah.
and I'm like, but I cook better food. In my opinion. Like
Yeah.
there's some things she's got me beat for
Yeah.
decades. Yeah, I need 100 more years before I can even approach her. But there's some recipes that like we've worked on together over the years, and when I was making it, I'd feel so bloated and just like awful after the fact, like just a little bit hot inside. And but when she made it, it was fine. I was like, so what are you doing differently? And she would say, oh, I'm just not using as much soy sauce, or I use like this specific type of rice wine vinegar because I found that that was one of the things contributing. So I cut out that rice wine vinegar entirely, and even that made a huge difference. I was like, wow, yeah, I was just buying the wrong stuff.
Wow. Dude,
Yeah,
that's crazy. Like the ingredients you use even for cooking and when you curate things, especially when it comes down to cooking, picking the ingredients and what you use is so important and people don't
it
realize
is.
it.
Yeah, I agree. Like I don't buy bagged broccoli anymore.
Hmm.
That steamable shit. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No, I buy the whole fresh one and cut it up myself,
Yeah.
because the stems have a lot of fiber and a lot of nutrients in them that you don't get when you buy the steamed stuff.
Yeah.
And the steamed stuff, when you steam it, it breaks down all the nutrients.
Yeah.
So you want to cook it raw. Like even if you buy the bag stuff, you want to cook it on a skillet. You do not want to steam it
Yeah.
in a bag, because all those microplastics get in there. Like it doesn't taste as good. It's too wilty. You
It
can't
is.
control it, the way you can when you're buying or using a fresh ingredient.
Makes sense. Do you use a wok?
I do use a wok,
Yeah,
like
I love woks,
exclusively,
man. I
exclusively
love
use a wok.
woks. Hey, I have to tell you something. What's it called? Check out the website Made In.
Made
It's
in.
expensive, but it's probably some of the best cookware you'll ever have. And my
Ooh,
mom cooks on woks too, and they make a phenomenal wok. And she's like, it's a game changer for me.
all right, saving that.
Some of the best knives. I have their Damascus knives here.
Ooh,
Expensive, made in France, but nice.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
I've been
So this
I've
stuff's all
been
made in France. It's either France or England.
I'm in the market for a new set of knives. Um,
Highly recommend
my
Maidens.
The one thing my that roommate took was my I had an entire Shun knife set,
Oh, wow.
the whole 8 pieces, and a
That's just
cleaver.
that's just
Like,
not nice.
yeah, it's just rude.
No. Wow. Dude, people, I swear.
People, people. So I'm
Just
in I'm
people.
in the market. I'm in the market for a new knife set.
Yeah. Highly
Um,
recommend them. I've used them
yeah.
for about a year now. And I got my
Okay.
parents a Japanese it's a Kyoto knife? Is it a Kyoto knife? I don't remember. Some type of knife. And they use it and they're like, dude, this is sharp as heck. I was like, I know. It's phenomenal. I was like,
That's
it's
amazing.
insane.
That's all I need to know.
So it's really good. But dude, that's awesome. I like to cook too, so it's like it's a lot of fun. I cook more Pakistani food, so um it's just different, man. I think like when you can explore your culture, um
Mhm.
and other cultures' food, I think it really connects people. I think as Anthony or Bourdain, they call him, he talked about the importance of cultures and food being the biggest connector. So
Yes, yes. And I truly subscribe to that philosophy,
yeah,
and if you can taste what other people's cultures are, you get a little sense of everything that they've gone through,
yeah,
in developing that meal, in creating that recipe. And it makes you interested,
yeah.
like my wife just got back from Italy, Greece, and Turkey. She was on a
Mm,
cruise. Uh, I wasn't invited. Uh, she went with her mom, but But she had never had Mediterranean food before.
Hmm.
And every time like I pitched, making some Mediterranean food or going to a Mediterranean restaurant, she's like, but it all sounds so bland. Like, why is there so many like olives and rice involved? I'm like, well, because that's what they have. And she
Hmm.
goes there and she's seeing them making, these kebabs on the wheel and, baking their chicken on clay pots. And she's like, oh, and then she tasted it and she's like, okay, now it makes sense. And now she's
Yeah.
craving it all the time,
Hmm.
like trying it and then being able to, if you're fortunate enough, experiencing it then, like it makes that culture seem so much brighter to you.
Yeah. Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And I think it's the passed down art from generation to generation.
Hmm.
And it tells a story. And I think if you can execute on that story, people appreciate it, such as your wife in this instance. So,
Yeah.
it's the way to tell a story. That's how I see it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And,
But
eating food should always be a story, when you should be able to taste that intent and that richness in every dish, and that's what I always strive to do every time I get into a kitchen. Like, okay, what is it that I want people to feel
yeah,
when they're eating?
no eating. I love it. I love it. All right. So Jeremy,
Hmm.
roots. Let's
Roots.
get into it. All
Let's
right.
do it.
So you were the first Blasian I ever met. so so
There
let's
aren't
talk
very
about
many of us.
not many not many of you. So tell me about that. Kind of talk about where your parents came from. Um, talk about the issues you faced growing up or issues later on in life. Like I would genuinely like to just kind of crack that nutshell open. All right,
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah. So, I'll start with my mother. She was born in southeast Hunan, China, in Li County. She grew up very poor. Her father was a beekeeper. Her mother was kind of more of like a farmer, and she aspired to become a nurse, and so she studied and studied and studied, finally made it out of her little rural part of China and took a test that, as far as I'm aware, might be the only time they offered it for a green card to the US when she was in nursing school at the time in China and took an international test to become a nurse, full-fledged nurse in America.
Wow,
And so stupidly smart. She was the only one to get it. So
it's wild.
yeah, yeah. I don't remember the numbers, but she competed against like thousands upon thousands of people
Yeah.
and managed to secure it. And then ended up in New York when she was like 24, 25, something like that. And then in the meantime, my father grew up in Leogan, Haiti,
Hmm.
and Port-au-Prince for some years. And he and his entire family had moved to the US, and he
Hmm.
was the last one living with his great grandmother. And finally was able to make it over. I think he was 16 at the time. So the years don't overlap, but they both met in Manhattan. My
Hmm.
father worked through high school. I think he took his SAT like a couple months after, like barely knew English, got a perfect score because of course, stupidly smart. Uh, he went to City College in New York and ended up at Cornell, and then was doing a residency at Beth Israel Hospital
Hmm.
where my mother was the head nurse. So that's how they met. They met. He was no, no, no. He was a resident at the time at Beth Israel Hospital, and so that's how they met. He was like the hot shot new resident, and she was like just the head nurse.
Yeah.
And so very, very smart people, that some of the smartest people I've ever met. Um,
Yeah.
and so I was born in Manhattan, and then we moved up to Boston because my father was a fellow for pain management at Harvard, and he was the top scoring Harvard fellow in like their history or something. Because why not? You know,
Why
why
not?
not? Why not build up all of these expectations for your 1-year-old son? Uh, but growing up, it was hard because they were both working. When
Mm,
we moved to Pennsylvania, my father had just started his practice,
mm,
so he was working basically 24/7. My mother was working for him. We were left alone as kids a lot. We had some babysitters, but for the most part, we were kind of left to fend for ourselves. At least that's how I remember it. Um, so it was challenging. I spent a lot of time with friends, couch surfing. Wasn't really because of like how hard they worked. I was like very anti school. So that's what brought me to music, and that's why, I poured so much time and energy into my music because I didn't want to end up having like I wanted, I guess, the creature comforts that they afforded by working so hard, and I always
hmm
will respect them for that, but I didn't want like my kids to grow up thinking that they had like absent parents, which
Yeah.
wasn't the case. It
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely wasn't the case, but when you're an angsty teenager, everything feels awful. So, but yeah, yeah. I grew up in a dual language speaking household. Father spoke French most of the time. My mother spoke Chinese a lot of the time, but they really wanted us to focus on English because my father didn't speak Chinese, my mother did not speak French. So there was no English was our universal language. And I grew up Chinese was my first language. I didn't speak English until I was like 5. And then I picked up a lot of French growing up and focused on that in high school. So culturally, it was very. I guess we didn't really grow up American. Like we
Yeah.
spoke English out of convenience,
Yeah.
but like I didn't really understand why people were like obsessed with Santa, for example. Like because it's not in either of those cultures. I did not really understand Halloween at all. Like until like college did I get a full grasp of like why Halloween is what it is in America.
Mm,
I thought it was just like this, some hijacked holiday, and I never really observed it, so I never really thought to look into it.
mm.
And there's a lot of things, like a lot of those small cultural things. Like we never celebrated 4th of July. Like we had neighbors. We grew up in the same neighborhood,
Yeah.
so like we had neighbors who would do it,
Yeah.
and I would just show up because it's like, oh, it's food and fireworks day, cool, you
That's
know?
pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, to this day, I still feel like 4th of July is more food and fireworks day than anything else. But yeah, it was interesting growing up in such a polarized uh it was just two completely different cultures. There was almost
hmm
no overlap between the two other than both of my parents grew up super poor and kind of kept that idea going.
Yeah.
So my father was a very successful doctor, mother very successful nurse, but like we grew up eating just like canned beans for dinner, you know and it instilled in us this appreciation for when you have something that I really appreciate in hindsight. But at
Mm.
the time I was like, split pea soup again? Come on. A lot of rice and beans, a lot of bok choy. Mostly rice though. It was mostly just rice and chicken.
Not a bad thing.
Which I'm not mad at. I love my
Yeah.
rice and my chicken. But yeah, it was interesting growing up that way, like almost un-American, but
Yeah.
trying to assimilate into being American and just like not having a lot of those cultural touchstones.
I I grew up the same, so I get it.
Yeah, I know,
To
I
this
know
day,
you'd understand.
yeah, it's just like 4th of July, and I'm like, hey, cool, fireworks and
Yeah,
food.
yeah.
That's cool. I mean, that's it. Like that's how I think about it. So, wait, do you still speak French and Chinese or no?
I don't speak that much Chinese anymore. I can understand a lot. But like whenever I would go back to China, it comes back. Like
That's
once
wild.
I'm like yeah, once I'm like re-immersed, I can speak and understand so much more. And then as
Yeah,
soon as I'm back in the States, that 12-hour flight, it's gone by the by the time I land at JFK, you know. French, I'm pretty casual, but nobody speaks French in Pittsburgh, so you know, if you don't use it, you lose it, and
it's very
that's
true.
definitely the case for me. But
Yeah,
I do still, I can hold my own if I had to.
very good. Yeah, I think language is like another way just to connect to other people. You know, my parents like English was my second language. Like I spoke
Yeah,
Urdu, right?
yeah,
Still speak it to
yeah.
this day. You know, like with my parents and everything. And then I read and write Arabic and all that. So like, you know, it's interesting. It's just like without those, I feel like I would lose who I am, you know?
Hmm.
And so I agree with you on that. And it's definitely different because here in the States, it just feels like it's all plain Jane, like vanilla ice cream,
Yep.
you know? So
Hmm.
it's just I agree with you. Growing up was very different. And that's okay. But it
Yeah.
shaped us into who we are today. So I don't complain.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, you go to any other country,
Yeah.
everybody speaks at least one other language. And I
Yeah.
get like Europe, like that makes sense because they're so small and they got the bullet trains, which we will never get. Uh,
Yeah. I
but,
wish.
but yeah, like in America, it's almost frowned upon to learn another language, or like
It's
it's just
weird.
like one of those casual things you drop at a bar. You're
Yeah.
like kampai. It's like okay, so do you speak Japanese? No, just picked that up in an anime one time. Got it. Uh,
I love it. It's
yeah.
wild.
Yeah,
It's
but
crazy.
it's like, but it's one of the things that I feel like, and I'm not to get political, but it is one of those things where I feel like it divides the country more
Mhm.
than anything is just the fact that we systematically refuse to truly learn or immerse ourselves in a different language or culture that isn't your own,
Correct.
you know?
Although between the podcast and anyone that's listening, this place doesn't really have much of a culture. It's a
Yeah,
melting pot. It
it
really
is.
is. And like
It is.
everything
Like our
with
culture is
like
every culture.
yeah, exactly. And it doesn't make sense. It's like, you know, we have such a rich history of immigration and just overall blending of cultures that the way that things are now, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like the constitutional principles just don't exist. And it's like, where are we? Like, what are we
Yeah.
doing? It's like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's like the one thing that made us a country is the one thing that is breaking it apart
Yeah.
at this point, which is it's so strange. It's strange. But we'll get back to it. I feel like, you know, especially with the advent of, you know, internet and I think especially like TikTok. You know,
Yeah.
I don't do the tickety tax. That
Me either.
my wife works for social media. She has to and she loves it. I don't use it like at all.
Yeah.
But it is like the one great unifier. Like that one week where we got rid of TikTok and everybody decided to learn Chinese.
Yeah.
Just like
Just so they could use
just
the other one.
overnight. Yeah, just so
Yeah.
that they could use the other one. Like the drive and the desire is there. And I think, you know, with the more and more, you know, other influencers from other countries start coming in, start sharing. Like there's that one guy in Korea who makes all the cucumber stuff and shakes it up in a little jar. Um, and like now everybody's super into like Korean television and now, you know, Squid Game is like the biggest thing in on TV,
Yeah.
you know? Like it's like it matters. Like every
Yeah.
little thing matters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, by the way, you know the people that bought your house in Napa Valley?
No,
They're Pakistani.
are they really?
Yeah, they are.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I want to ask them why they got rid of the eagle. I do not understand
They got
this.
rid of the eagle?
Yeah, dude. What? You've not been oh, what? You never been back?
No. No, I
Oh,
haven't
dude.
been
All right.
back.
When I go back in August, I'll send you a picture.
Okay. I'll also be back in August
Oh, will you?
for
Okay.
Music Fest.
Okay, very cool.
So, yeah.
What
Yeah, I'll
days? I
be
don't even remember
the
when Music Fest
8th
is.
through the 10th, I believe.
I'll be in Philly, I
Okay.
think. Yeah,
Okay.
if you're around, let me know.
Oh, definitely. Definitely
Yeah,
we'll link up.
I'm gonna be there the first week because like my fiance is with my parents for a couple things.
Oh, that's right. Congratulations, by the
No,
way.
thank you, sir.
Happy wife,
Yeah,
happy
no,
life.
my dad's like, oh yeah, they're Pakistani. They become our friends, and I was like, yeah, why did they remove the eagle? He's like, I have no idea. That eagle is beautiful. I was like, yeah,
It
and
was so
I would have
nice.
taken it. I would have
Uh,
taken it.
my father's patient sculpted that for him.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like a commission, like, he did it, like, as a gift.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
if I'm
that's very
remembering correctly. But,
I'll have to
yeah.
ask them. I'm like, "Hey, what happened to the eagle? If they put it in storage,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take it back." Like, "Let's
Mhm,
restore the eagle."
mhm. It's probably just sitting in the basement.
Yeah, who knows, man?
"Give
Who
it to
knows?
me." I don't have
Give it
space
to me.
for it in my house, but it's such a
I
big
love it.
eagle.
It was massive, dude.
It was so
Um,
large.
but all right, Jeremy. So I usually end the podcast with a couple of things, and they're very deep questions. So be ready.
Alright.
So everybody dies. Okay.
Mhm.
So on your tombstone, when you have one, what would it say and why?
On my tombstone, here lies Jeremy, friend, a brother, family.
Hmm,
He died doing something.
I like it. That's 100. That's 100% you. It's just so open ended. I love it.
Yep, and he probably enjoyed it. So
Yep, that is you.
yeah,
That's you in a
yeah,
nutshell.
that's definitely gonna be something like that is definitely gonna be on my tombstone.
Yeah,
I hate all that sentimental shit, but I do respect or well, yeah, I do respect, but I love family. You're my brother, everybody is family to me,
yeah,
and that's kept me going and has helped me out so much in life. I think that's probably like the most important thing that I would want on my on my tombstone.
hmm, fair enough. Okay, second question.
Mhm.
Who is Jeremy in one word? It gets harder.
In one word,
One word, and
who's
why?
Jeremy in one word? I would say helpful.
Okay, why?
I I've tried to live my life helping as many people as possible.
Okay.
And I've tried like I am selfless to a fault, like often to my own detriment. And I own that,
Mm,
and it's been part of my mental health journey, finding a way to build boundaries. But
mm,
I hate building boundaries because that means I help less people. So I would have to say helpful.
okay, I like it. That fits you well, actually. It does fit you very well. Okay, so my last question, very simple. It goes a little bit reverse, but if there's any piece of advice for the audience or whoever's listening, uh, in whatever time, what would it be, and how could it help them?
I think the one thing that I've learned lately that I've also been working on, and if I could, 10 years from now look back on this, like what would I have said?
Hmm.
Um, is listen to your inner monologue
Hmm.
and challenge it.
Okay.
Listen to your body and challenge it. You can only there's only so much other people can do for you.
Hmm.
And I think that if you get stuck in that rut of I have intrusive thoughts that are recurrent, right? Just as an example. And for a long time I kind of dwelled on it. But I started journaling, writing it down, and then just forcing myself to play devil's advocate.
Hmm.
And it helps you navigate your own internal monologue and your own thought process and how you approach things. And I think that's been the most helpful piece of advice that I got through my therapy that I try to push forward whenever I get a chance.
Hmm.
Like, don't be afraid to challenge yourself in
Makes
the
sense.
smallest of ways.
Okay. Well, Jeremy, it was a pleasure, my friend.
It was
I
such a
appreciate your
pleasure.
time.
Thank you
I
for
mean, man, it
inviting
was
me,
just
man.
nice
This was
catching up,
amazing.
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you
dude.
for
No,
inviting
this
me.
is
This was awesome.
Dude, no, I love this. And if you know other people that have got stories, man, please let them know. Like, not even listen in, but like if they want to talk about it, I'm happy to. It's
Yeah.
fun. Like, this is like a side passion project that I'm just like, I mean, I was very consistent. I got a little bit busy. I'm traveling a little bit more often this
Mhm.
year, but I want to continue doing this with people. I think like you had so many pieces of advice that someone could extrapolate information from and just kind of help themselves. And you help one person, that's for me is more than enough. So that's what this has done for someone, and so be it. You know.
If I can make one person smile, I did my job.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. So then, thank you so much for your time. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it. And to the audience, this is another episode of Mind, Body, and Roots. Thank you so much for your time. Be well.